How many of you want to see your vision? How many of you have kind of said, I think I kind of know? Over the past couple weeks, I've taken some time to discover, and maybe you're realizing that the thing that you're passionate about is really the vision of God for your life. How many of you have had some introspection, some look at your vision? Okay, good. Okay, great. All right. So then we go to cultivate it, right? We discover it, and now it's like, okay, well, I got to focus on my spiritual disciplines, and I got to grow spiritually in order to see this dream really cultivated. And I want to talk about how do we take this idea and turn it into reality? Because cultivating doesn't actually turn it into reality either. It just helps form the dream better. But it doesn't manifest it. It doesn't make it happen. This is one of those things, and we talked about it briefly in our lesson this morning in Lessons for Life. I believe this principle is often neglected in leadership training the secular leadership training that I work a lot with. And then also in the church, I see it neglected, or actually not necessarily neglected, but abused. Okay, so there's two sides, either completely neglected or it's abused. And really, this comes down to this principle of sowing or multiplication. See, what sowing does is sowing begins the process of multiplication. How many of you know that when you plant a seed in the ground, it's going to grow into whatever that plant is, which then produces sometimes hundreds of thousands of times fold in seed, right? Okay, you guys are with me. Basic agricultural understanding, okay? All right. But it takes it's the one act of sowing that actually starts the process of multiplication, right? Okay. This is essential for every Christian to understand. And I believe the world understands this sometimes better than Christians do. Okay, I was part of a business networking group for years when I was working in mortgages, and before that when I was doing sales in Portland area. And there's the law of giver's gain that's talked about often in networking groups. If I give you referrals, guess what's going to happen? Someday you're going to give me referrals, right? Okay, it's this law of giver's gain. Okay, the world understands this. In the church, we've either neglected it or we've twisted it a little bit. And so what we're going to do today is we are just going to hammer through this idea of sowing. We're going to look at what is it, how do we do it, and why does it work? Okay? Because what we have to do is we have to be a people that sow generously. If we don't sow generously with everything that we have, we are going to miss out on all the vision, all the dream, all the calling that is in you and in the people around you. I don't want us to miss it. Do you want to miss it? No. Okay, can we get a better no? Do you want to miss it? No. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Thank you. If we don't grab this concept, we're going to really be in trouble. And, no dream ever comes to pass without sowing, without the process of multiplication. No dream will ever come to pass. I've said it here. I knew that our worship team wouldn't get any better unless I sowed my time into it heavier. It was just true. I knew that our church finances wouldn't get any better unless I really took time, and Beth and I took time to go over all the details and really dig into it so that the church's finances would get better. That's sowing. Do you understand that? Like, that's taking time to get into things in order to see things improve. If you want to see an outcome, you actually have to sow into what it is that you want to have happen. It's not just money. If we stop at cultivation, understand, if we stop at just worrying about ourselves, if we stop at the self-focus and the introspection, Lord, I'm just praying about me again. If we stop at cultivation, the dream dies. This is where the graveyard of vision is in the church today. Because everyone's so focused on being spiritual. We no longer are sowing. We're not allowing multiplication to start. Because it's all about me, Jesus. If you get stuck at cultivation where you're in prayer about your vision, about your dream, and then you're praising him, which, God's always working this stuff out, but sometimes, you can get stuck in this place and your dream and your vision dies. The opportunities that he placed in front of you die. He's going to bring something else along, but the dream, it's like we get certain opportunities. How many of you know that big sale only happened once and you missed it? Right? We kick ourselves all the time. Oh, did you see that? Oh, no, we could have saved. Da, 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 da. Well, it may come around again, but we missed that. I don't want us to be missing it. I want to take full advantage of what God has for us. All right. When I was first came to the Lord, about a year after I came to the Lord, I went to a pastor's conference in L.A., at the Dream Center in L.A., and I heard one of the most powerful messages that I'd ever heard on multiplication, and it was taught by, Tommy Barnett, who's like the master of giving and multiplication. If you think about his vision and his dream that he started with when he first started at Phoenix First Assembly of God, was very, very, he has a big dream, and he had naysayers everywhere around him, and he just kept pushing past. And eventually, they've got a 8,000 person stadium that he teaches from every week with 3 services, okay, in an 8,000 seat stadium. Okay, do you guys grab that? Okay, okay, all right. And part of their concept there is if you find a hurt, heal it. If you find a need, fill it. That's just how they operate as a ministry. One of the people in their church had a vision for helping professional athletes come to know the Lord. And so they started looking at what can we do what would draw professional athletes to our church. Because he was a retired professional athlete. So they began to pray, and they said, well, why don't we put in, a good sports facility here? So within a year, people just started, the vision went out there, and people just started serving that vision, and they built an Olympic-sized swimming pool and 2 full basketball courts, volleyball courts, and all that stuff right there on the campus of the church, right on the church campus. And it's now the official Olympic training ground for the U.S. Olympic swim team. It's stuff like that where somebody had a vision for something and they just went after it. And it just multiplied. Why? Because they were sowing seeds, a lot of seeds. And so we're going to talk a little bit about this today. But that was my first experience with this understanding of multiplication. And it's easy for me to forget it. It's easy for me, I'm just going to be real with you guys, it's easy for me to get caught up in the minutia of every day and forget to actually sow into things. Right? We got to keep it on the forefront of our mind. Sowing, put simply, this principle, if you want something, give it away. If you want something, give it away. If you want more time with your family, give more time to your family. Right? That's just a real simple concept. If you want something, give it away. Be generous with the resources that will build your dream. Think about your dream, whatever it is. If you take the resources that you have and you give that away, you begin the process of multiplying resources back to you. Now, we don't give out of selfish motive. We're going to get into all that, but it is a reality and a principle. See, the kingdom of God is backwards to men's thinking. See, a lot of us, when we think we're going to accomplish a vision, we're going to accomplish a dream, we think, oh man, I got to squeeze every resource. I've got to take every dime I have towards my vision. I've got to take every minute, hard work, effort, all of these things. And God says, no, you don't. That's man's thinking, not God's thinking, right? Because the wisdom of God is foolishness to man. So what's God saying? Give it away. You think that's your resource for your vision? Well, actually, you know what? Take that vision, take that resource and give it away to somebody else, and then the Lord will come in and supply the need. Now, some of you are even wondering, is this guy even preaching biblically right now? Because this is crazy talk. I'm just supposed to be giving everything away that God gives me. Let me just tell you really quickly, if you want to build your vision, serve someone else's vision, and yours will be built in the process. And serve and be a blessing, but do it with enthusiasm, right? Be excited about serving other people. Okay, Proverbs 11:24. Okay, if you're taking notes, you write this one down. Proverbs 11:24 says, there is one who scatters, yet increases more. There is one who scatters, yet increases more. And there is one who withholds more than is right, but it leads to poverty. There's one who scatters, and it leads to more. And there's one who withholds more than is right, and it leads to poverty. There are many people that I have seen come and talk to me about their financial struggles, and I'll pull up their giving statement and I'll tell you why. They're doing this instead of giving. That's one of the first things. Okay, if we're going to talk about financial problems in your life, okay, are you a giver? Because this is the principle of the Lord. This isn't about what the church has or growing my vision. This is about you. What kind of Christian are you going to be? Are you going to be one who holds tightly? Luke 6:38. Jesus says this, give and it will be given to you. Jesus said that. Right? Okay, guys, that was Jesus. Okay, let me just say, that was Jesus said that. Okay, give and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your bosom. That's the word of God saying that. You know, we talk about generosity a lot here, don't we? Every week we've got a giving statement. We say that we're made in the image of God because we're in alignment with God. Heaven's going to be poured out here. This idea of generosity is critical if you're going to live a life that achieves vision and dream. If you are not generous, you will not get there. It is absolutely critical. And of course, part of that giving statement is that we are made in God's image, the greatest giver of all. See, God is generous. Psalm 51:12 says that you uphold me by your generous spirit. Isaiah says, you uphold me by your generous spirit. He is generous by nature. Come on, John 3:16. And God so loved the world that he gave. What did he give? What seed did God sow? God sowed his son. Why? So that it could be multiplied. Look at the fruit of that one seed. You and I would not be sitting here if God didn't give his son. The most precious thing to him. God is a generous God, and we must be a generous people. If you look at the millions upon millions upon millions of believers over the past 2,000 years, it is all a direct result. It is all directly comes out of the fact that God gave his son. All of it. See, God is a giver. God is a giver. let's think about some different areas in which we give and where this law is really played out very well. Think about energy. How many of you know if you lay in bed all day, you're going to be more tired at the end of the day than if you actually got up, right? How many of you know that if you hit the gym first thing in the morning, you got a pretty good day? You got energy, right? So you give some, guess what you're getting? More energy, right? Let's think about this when it comes to knowledge. You know something, but then you share that knowledge with someone else. Guess what happens? The more that you share, the more insight and wisdom you gain. Right? This is why the teacher role in America is at the top of the list right now in the church. Right? Because the teachers are giving so much knowledge and they're gaining even more perception, even more knowledge. Right? Because they're giving it. Think about time. We already talked about that, with the family, but when you give more time, you may have like 24 hours in a day, but when you give your time to serve something or to serve in a certain area, when you give that, you actually are either going to receive more time or you will actually use your time wiser. In essence, gaining more time. So why does this principle work? Why does this principle work? I mean, it's an important principle. Why does it work? First off, it's all about alignment. It works because we are aligning with God. When you give, first thing you do, when you give, you recognize God is the ultimate supplier. You are acknowledging, God, you are the one who supplies for every need that's out there. You can fulfill, you can say, I will give because I am giving from my God who is the ultimate resource. He's the one who's given everything to you. So when we give, we acknowledge, God, you are the one who is the ultimate resource. Generosity revolutionizes your outlook on life when you do that. You see everything differently. Instead of someone trying to take something, you're going to give it. Instead of someone who's in need being a dirty panhandler, you see their need because you want to meet it. You want to give. You want to be generous. You want to meet the needs that are in front of you. It revolutionizes your relationships. Instead of worrying about how much money you have in the bank, you go, oh man, I just really need to give my spouse this amazing gift. Sometimes that's okay. God is the one who supplies the resource. When you give, you also acknowledge that you can't do it all on your own, right? You acknowledge you can't be the one who does it all on your own. I love that. Everybody's checking their pockets real quick. That was great. Everybody's like, oh boy, that's going to be me in like 2 seconds. I can feel it. You also acknowledge that you can't fulfill your dream in your own time and in your own energy and in your own resources. When you give, you're saying, Lord, it's your timing. I'm trusting you. So often we hold on to things because we've got this dream or we want to do this thing, and then we don't sow into anything. Say, yes, Lord, you supply all my need, and thank you, and then I'm going to take what you gave me, and I am going to do X, Y, and Z with it. Instead, we need to be saying, Lord, I acknowledge that you are the one who is going to fulfill my dream in your timing, with your resources, not mine. When you empty yourself, right, and you give of yourself, you give of your resources, you now give God the opportunity to fill. Okay, you give God the opportunity to fill you when you give. How many of you know clenched fist cannot accept gift? Okay? It's true. You got to have an open hand. And the tighter you squeeze, the less you're going to get. The more that you give, the more that you will receive. Full vessels can't be filled. Are you going to empty yourself or pretend that you're full? Instead of holding on to your time, give your time to other causes, to charities. Love Inc., right? We need to find somebody who's adult mentor for a man who needs help with what exactly, Beth? Okay, but we need someone who can come alongside of a man and mentor them. You can give your time to that. Sow into someone else's life. Find a favorite charity. Find a new ministry that you want to support and give your time to. Same thing with money. This is real. Give. See, we've gotten stewardship a little backwards. Okay, I don't mean to step on anybody's toes, but stewardship doesn't mean stingy. Stewardship doesn't mean that I'm only going to give my tithe. In Malachi 3:10, he says, "You've robbed me of tithes and offerings, not just the tithe." So he says, bring all the tithes, bring everything into the storehouse. Test me in this and see if I will not open heaven and pour out a blessing in which you can't handle. So find a ministry, find something that you're willing to sow into. Find a person that you know is in need and write them a check. Begin to sow into other people's lives, into other people's dreams, into other people's visions. Because as you do that, you are actually aligning yourself with God, and He begins the process of allowing your vision to come to pass. It's often when we begin to sow into other people's dreams that our vision begins to take shape. All right, so let's talk about how this principle of sowing and the process of multiplication works. Okay, we've kind of danced around a little bit, but let's dig into it. First thing, this principle works when you find needs and you just give into the need. Right? When you find a need, you're willing to give something into that need. Okay? It works when we come up with new ways to give. Right? This is what we say in our statement of generosity. We want to come up with new ways to be generous to the world around us. Find a new way to give. Be innovative. If you're an encourager and you naturally encourage people and you want to give someone a word of encouragement, find a new way to do it. Make personalized e-cards. Email it. Text them. Surprise them. Be a secret sister. Right? Just bless them. Right? Come up with innovative ways to give. Isaiah 32:8 says this. A generous man devises generous things, and by generosity he shall stand. A generous man devises generous things. Think of new ways to be generous. And guess what? By that generosity, you will have a firm foundation. You'll stand. When we talk about finding needs, guys, this is how Christ ministered. He would go into a region and first thing that he would do is oftentimes he would have a throng of people and he'd just begin to heal people. He just began meeting needs when he was there. Wherever he went, he met needs. And then guess what? After all the needs were met, then he'd stand back and say, I got something to tell you. Let me tell you about the kingdom of God. So often, We're out here saying, I want to tell you about the kingdom, but I'm not going to meet your need, and nobody's listening. Come on. So we've got to take the pattern that Christ had and meet needs first. Let's meet needs. Come up with generous ways to do this. How else can we do this? Guys, you need this process, this idea of sowing and multiplication works because when we give, remember how we give God opportunity to fill? It's his supernatural supply and resource that comes in and fills. I mean, it's a supernatural thing. It is not a natural thing. I love the story of the man who owned, some of you may have heard the story, but the man who owns a power line company in New Mexico. And they had been having a really hard financial time. He was a believer and he was a good giver, but he really felt like there was just something wrong happening with his business, and he couldn't put his finger on it. One day, 2 linemen died, and he felt like it was the enemy was trying to steal and kill. I mean, death is a pretty good sign that the enemy's at work, right? He doesn't know what to do. He goes to prayer. He shows up at church Sunday, and he emptied his entire bank accounts of all of his businesses. Wrote a check, gave it to his pastor, and said, I'm going to break the curse that the enemy is trying to keep on my business because I'm noticing I'm more worried about the liability of these things than the actual people, so I'm giving everything away. I'm just going to let the Lord do what he wants to do with it. That's crazy. Isn't that? But that's what the Lord told him to do, and he obeyed, and he went and did it. 2 days later, he got the largest single contract ever given by a government in the power line industry. He didn't even apply for it. That's supernatural supply. The Lord replenishes those things that we give with his supernatural supply. He will replenish your time. He'll replenish your ideas. He'll replenish your finances. Meek and I have walked through this over and over and over. You know, our goal is to increase our giving every year, if not every month, just to give more. Because we know that this is how God is going. We're sowing time, energy, efforts all here and in other places too. Right? Like we've got one of our favorite charities is a missionary group in Africa. Okay? And it's not through our denomination. Do we give to that? We absolutely do. You bet. We also support Haiti Project here. You know, but we know that as we give, God replenishes the supply. He always replenishes. And in fact, he increases it. He's always increased it. He increased it to the point where Mika went down to working. Mika's business is just such a thing from God because she works 4 days a week and has 2-hour lunches, and we bring in more than we did before when she was working 5 hours, 10 hours a day. 5 days, 10 hours a day. That's just the Lord. When you don't give and you don't sow into others' lives and dreams, you limit the resources you will need to meet your dream. You're automatically limiting the resources that you're going to be able to have. Again, this is that idea of allowing this concept of stewardship and financial responsibility to replace giving in faith. Oh, no, I can't give any extra because I've got it all written down on my sheet because I'm a good steward. When the Lord has said, if you test me, expand your boundary in giving. I am a huge advocate of good financial accounting and being responsible with your funds and with your money. Imagine how much you could give if you weren't in debt. So yes, be financially responsible. Why? Because it gives you even greater opportunity to give. Okay. I put note right here, encourage the people. We have givers here. Okay, I'm not hammering on this as if you guys are stingy. You're not. You are givers. And I'm so grateful that you guys are givers. The only reason why we've grown the way that we have in 6 months is because you are givers. The only reason why, Mika and I are so confident to give you our vision is because you guys sow into it. And we're so grateful for that. So I just want you to know that I want us to understand this principle as it comes to reaching our dreams and as it comes as being good Christians. Right? Do you want to know why everyone thinks the government has to provide for everything? It's because Christians quit giving. We're still the most giving nation in the world. Our private donations annually still trump what the government gives to other governments and foreign aid. Did you know that? Trillions upon trillions of dollars come out of the U.S. in charity every year. In the teens of trillions. Okay? Not just a little bit. See, now, nobody wants to talk about how much we give as Christians. So we've got to give in the right places, too. Okay? So we've got to really increase our giving to the next level, I believe. When I say increase your giving to the next level, just understand you can't outgive God. He is limitless, and he has a limitless supply for you. Okay, did you grab that? He has a limitless supply. Don't limit your giving. Take it to the next level because you can't outgive God. Give a little more than usual for a while and see what happens. He says, test me in this. Every time Meek and I have increased our giving, we've been abundantly blessed. I was at a conference or a little meeting a while back, and the guy said, hey, are you willing just to dedicate anything extra that comes in this month? Are you willing to just dedicate that to the Lord and just give it to your local church or local ministry that if you get anything extra in, are you willing to do that? I'm like, heck yeah, I'll do it. I'll do anything extra that comes in that I'm not aware of that's coming in. I'm just going to sow it to the church. 2 days later, I got a check in the mail from my old company for almost $4,000. Hallelujah. Sowing it, like it's gone. I didn't even get it. I already committed it. And Mika and I had to look at each other for a minute and go, wow, we could really use this money. Right? But we've never worried about it since. Like the Lord just provides. And he used that money specifically to start some ministry here. Praise God. Increase your giving to the next level. And in this, test the boundaries of his supply. Malachi 3:10. It's so clear. It says, and try me now in this, says the Lord of hosts, if I will not open for you the windows of heaven and pour out for you such blessing that there will not be room enough to receive it. You don't even have the ability to contain what he wants to give you if you test him with your attitude and heart of giving. And we're talking about time. We're talking about service. We're talking about money. We're talking about every area of life. Don't just think it's a money issue. This is not a money issue. This is every area of life issue. Don't be selfish with your time. Just the same as don't be selfish with your money. Don't be selfish with your mind, your talent, your abilities. Come on, Beth. All right, as far as how this works, really, if we talk about this, let's just bring it in. Serve someone else's dream. If you're willing to serve someone else's dream, you will begin to see your dream fulfilled and accomplished. We see this as a very clear biblical principle. Look at Elijah and Elisha. Elisha served Elijah, walked behind Elijah. And do you know what happened? By Elisha serving Elijah, the blessing that poured out on Elisha was he has twice as many recorded miracles than Elijah does. Because he was willing to serve. Look at what Joshua and Moses. Joshua served Moses' vision and dream as he served the Lord. And then after Moses died, Joshua then gets to carry the mantle and do the things that Moses couldn't do. He gets to go into the promised land, go places that Moses wasn't allowed to do. By serving Moses' dream, Joshua was able to reach his. Now let's look at Joseph. Okay, best example of this in the Bible is Joseph. Joseph has a young dream as a young man, right, that all these things were going to come to pass, that his father and mother and all his brothers were going to bow to him, and he got mad. Guess what? The brothers got ticked, sold him into slavery. He goes and serves as a slave in Potiphar's house. Well, he serves Potiphar, right? As his servant, serves Potiphar, and Potiphar does what? Raises him up to the top of the house. Well, unfortunately, Potiphar has a really nasty wife and accuses him of rape, right? So then, guess what? Joseph serves Potiphar, gets thrown in jail. What does Joseph do when he's in jail? He serves the prison guard. He serves the head of the jail. Right? What happens when he serves the head of the jail? He gets raised up to the top of inmates in the jail. Gives him an opportunity to speak into the life of the butler and the baker when they have their dream. He interprets their dream, and then he just goes back to serving the guard of the jail. After he's serving the guard of the jail, the butler is back talking to the Pharaoh saying, hey, you got this really weird dream? I know this guy who's in prison who interpreted a dream for me. Why don't we go get him? Joseph comes, serves Pharaoh. Then he actually gets appointed as the top underneath Pharaoh in all of Egypt, coming out of prison. Okay, obviously they didn't have any felony laws. All right, so he goes to the top of the heap there, right? Nobody vetted that guy. All right. So goes to the top of the heap there, and he just serves Pharaoh. He serves Pharaoh. And what happens? His brothers show up. Eventually, his dad shows up. His ultimate dream was fulfilled by serving others. Serve someone else's dream for a while. It's not all about you. Serve a ministry that you believe in. Give abundantly to the things that you are passionate about. And God will begin to fulfill your dream. There are a lot of ways to sow into your dream, but the reality is that we have to give away the things that we will need to fulfill our dreams. We got to start sowing them. We got to start sowing them. And don't sow them selfishly into just what you want. Serve other people's needs. Just start to sow the seed. We must become a people that is so beyond the norm when it comes to generosity. I want Hidden Valley to be known as the church that is the giving church. They sow into ministries. They're sowing into different avenues throughout the city. Even ones that don't preach the gospel. Supporting real life need, meeting, things that are going on. Because guess what? You meet the needs and then they'll hear the gospel. So I want us to be a people who are meeting needs, who are sowing our seed, sowing and allowing our generosity to be multiplied across the county, across the state, even the country and the world, as we just give faithfully. And we test God. We give a little bit more. Some of you may be looking at your time and your wallet, and you're going,
Hi, sorry we got interrupted. For some reason, the recording ended right there, and really it's at one of the most critical points of the whole message. So I just wanted to fill you in on what that point was. I was saying that sometimes we don't have the resources. Sometimes we feel like we're poor in certain areas. But God has given us a resource that is unlimited, that we can give all we want of, and it never fades, it never goes away. And it's actually love. The Bible says that God is love. The Bible also says that we are His temple and that He dwells within us. And since He dwells within us, we have within us an unlimited resource that we can give, and we can give freely with no expectation of anything in return. We can just give freely love. The beautiful thing about giving love is that it's something that everyone needs. So be generous, be a giver, and give love. Know also that the only thing that prevents us from being givers of love is ourselves. We have a choice. We can choose to love or not to. I hope that you choose to love in everything that you do, and you become a sower of love, and that you just become generous with love, because really that is the most important thing that you can give to anyone, is love. And we're so grateful for the love that God showed toward us, and that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. See, He paid the ultimate sacrifice, showing great love towards us so that we can go and love the world. So just know that there's an unlimited resource of love in you. Give it. I wanted to make sure you have that. Hope this message blessed you as you pursue your dreams. Have a great week.